One. I call the special meeting of December 9th, 2024 to order at 6:00 p.m. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Potato.
Here.
Bowman.
Here.
Clariget.
Here.
Cole.
Here.
Elfers.
Here.
Hannah.
Here.
Ranky.
Here.
Mayor Hayden is absent tonight, so as Deputy Mayor, I will be presiding over tonight's meeting, and we will start with the consent agenda. Clerk, will you please read the consent agenda?
Item number 1, 2024 Sidewalk Repair Program Change Order. Item 2, Resolution number 1707, Transportation Improvement Board Complete Streets Grant Acceptance. Item 3, Biosolids Dryer Procurement Thermal Fluid Heater Modification Change Order number 1. Item 4, Steffens Employment Agreement Amendment. Item 5, Water Rights Pilot Project Consultant Services Contract Amendment. Item 6, South Tank Retrofit Design Consultant Contract Amendment. Item 7, White River Restoration Project Plant Procurement. Item 8, Resolution number 1706, amending the interlocal agreement, ILA, with East Pierce County Interlocal Coalition, EPIC, for emergency management. Item 9, City Hall Access Control and Intrusion, Goods and Services Contract. Item 10, approval of the council meeting minutes from November 18, 2024, regular meeting, special study session, and the December 2nd, 2024 regular council meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Potato, would you please make a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, you're fast.
Okay. Thank you. That second was from Councilmember Kenna. It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Would any council member wish to remove an item? Okay. So are all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? Nope. Passes unanimously. Great. So now let's move on to the public hearing, which is ordinance number 2915, Sumner Library Development Agreement. I open the public hearing at 6:03 p.m. and I call on City Attorney Andrea Marquez.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Before you tonight is a development agreement with the Sumner Library branch. So the Pierce County Library is in the process of designing and constructing a new Sumner Library, moving the location from Friar Avenue to a more centralized location on East Main Street. In 2023, the library successfully passed a bond measure to fund the development of the new building. Development agreements are permitted by state law, and they're typically utilized for large-scale public projects like a library or a transit center or a school, but they're also used for large master plan communities or subdivisions, typically the projects that take a long time to develop or are developed in phases. They create certainty for developers because a development agreement vests a project to local land use laws that are in place at the time of the agreement, and they benefit the public because the city then has some ability to negotiate certain development guidelines and parameters to the project. The DA that's proposed tonight will vest the library project to the current zoning laws and will vest the project to the 2024 impact fee schedule. This provides the library, which is taxpayer funded, to enjoy significant savings over the 2025 fee rates. This proposed term on the DA is 5 years, with the option to renew for an additional 5-year period. The proposed agreement specifically addresses the street parking permitted on Main Street for the new building and defines the public access route from Main Street to the library's parking area, which will be located behind the building. The agreement also requires the library to construct an 8-foot fence where fencing is required between the library site and the perimeter or the adjacent residential lots. In addition to these development guidelines, the agreement requires the library to create a space on the property or provide rotating exhibits that communicate historical information about Sumner to the public. This second connected agreement has a 50-year term. and the details are still being discussed. The library's conditional use permit and this development agreement were both presented to the city's hearing examiner on November 20th. Pursuant to our code, the development agreement now comes before you for a public hearing and approval before going back to the hearing examiner for a final decision on the underlying CUP permit application. The hearing examiner did not express any concerns about the DA that is being presented to you this evening, although we did catch 2 typos that we will update before it comes back to the packet for approval. If council have any clarifying questions, I'd be happy to answer them before the public hearing. Otherwise, tonight is for purposes of hearing from the public, and it will be back before you on January 6th.
Looks like we're good. Is there anyone from the council, just to make sure? No. Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for this public hearing?
Deputy Mayor, I have no one signed up on the sign-in sheet for this public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak? Excellent. Can you please state your name?
Hi,
And
good
your
evening.
address, please.
Oh, yep. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, fantastic. Hi, this is Gretchen Casserati. I'm the Executive Director of the Pierce County Library System. And I just wanted to take a moment to share our appreciation and support for the development agreement between the library system and the City of Sumner. The staff and council and community have been so supportive of this new library project, and we appreciate the collaborative interest that the city has to work with us to maximize the library that we can bring to this community. And this collaboration is really valuable as we move into the next phase of our construction project in 2025. So I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person, Deputy Mayor Cole and Council, but I just wanted to take a moment to share my comments and support of the development agreement.
Great. Thank you for those comments. And is that it? No more additional ones online? Thank you. Okay. Be sure to state your name and address.
Nick Bierman, 5802 Parker Road East. Just like to ask a question. Any of the groups that have been involved in trying to save the Ryan House, can we be included in any discussions about Sumner history? That's all.
Okay, we'll see who we can get to answer that question for you or to respond to you at some point. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so that is it for this public hearing. I close the public hearing at 6:08 p.m. Now we move on to regular business. We have first unfinished business, which is ordinance number 2905, the 2025-26 biennial budget. Councilmember Bowman, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2905, the 25-26 biennial budget.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councilmember Clergett. I call on Chief Financial Officer Cassandra Raymond.
Good evening, everyone. It's a short presentation tonight. So I'd like to start just by saying a thank you. This is a thank you to our community, to our Finance and Personnel Committee, our City Council, our Mayor, our staff. The biennial budget process is always very in-depth. It's complex, and I very much appreciate the participation of so many groups of people and really having some good, thoughtful discussions about the city's strategic priorities and how we can best use our limited resources to meet as many of those goals as we can. So our biennial budget is driven it really drives everything we do. It's a communication document. It's a planning document. It provides us a work plan for our staff. We are constantly in a cycle of our budget. For all intents and purposes, this evening is the culmination of months of work for our 2025-2006 biennium. But in fact, it really is just a benchmark in that period as we now move on to the implementation and evaluation phase. Throughout all of the year, we are taking public comment. We're incorporating that into what our city's priorities are. You're incorporating that into your strategic priorities. The strategic priorities are what drives our budget. We are given Clear direction that any budget asks need to be able to be pointed towards how they meet one of City Council's strategic priorities. From there, we take our staff input, and so that's expertise in our staff's respective areas, and the mayor takes all of those inputs and works with staff to develop the mayor's preliminary budget. That comes to City Council. We go through multiple reviews. We have 2 public hearings, as well as opportunities at both Finance Committee and regular council meetings for our community to provide their input as well. We are at that stage 6 orange, council approves. We are required to pass a balanced budget no later than December 31st for the next biennium. And again, starting from January 1st, staff will begin implementing the work plan outlined in the 25-26 budget, and then working on constantly evaluating. You've seen as in our 23-24 budget, we work very hard to be sure that we're timely and transparent with council and with the community on any programmatic changes, and that'll continue in the next biennium. Specifically for the 25-26 budget, we started off on May the 4th. So may the 4th be with you. I had to throw that in. That was our City Council retreat. Moving on, we issued a formal budget survey in July of 2024. That was done with the use of targeted postcards, as well as our social media, website, newsletter, etc. We began our study session reviews in September, bringing council information on the 16th, 18th, 23rd, and 30th, 2 meetings in October, and 2 additional meetings in November. On October 2nd, the full preliminary budget, so that's all of the budget pages that had been previously disseminated, as well as all of the narrative. So that's our FTE information, a discussion on our city's policies, a discussion on our financial trends. That was all released and available on October the 2nd of 2024. Later in October, on October 21st, we held a public hearing for our tax year 2025 property tax, and then that resolution was approved on November the 4th. November 18th, and then on December 2nd, we held required public hearings for the 25-26 budget. And that brings us here today, December 9th, for our adoption. Again, this has been a process that's been in place for at least 7 months for the actual process, but in some cases of some of the really large capital projects we see really getting moving in the next biennium, some of these things have been in the works for a decade. The feedback we received from our public survey and that we receive year-round through a variety of avenues are top concerns: traffic, growth, public safety, homelessness, and streets. Our council has set strategic priorities. This was refined and reviewed again at our May the 4th council retreat: community character, public safety, excellent government, protection of natural resources, and effective transportation. All of those also have sub-bullets that explain what do we mean by that. Those aren't just empty words for us. They really do drive our budget process. For community character, that has ongoing efforts such as our event support, our e-newsletters, hanging baskets, our contributions towards SHAPE, which is the South Sound Housing Affordability Partnership, and then also constructing Hops Alleys, funding our community partners, new bike racks downtown. Public safety, this is a big one for us. Our 2025-26 biennial budget will fund 2 new police officers, as well as ballistic helmets, flock cameras for traffic safety planning grants, as well as all of the normal ongoing efforts that support our public safety, including our therapeutic court, street lighting, jail services, prisoner monitoring. Excellent government, that's a big one. That really does feed through everything we do, from our ongoing efforts, that's retaining and recruiting really excellent staff and interns who really believe in what we do, publishing our public notices, risk management, and records management. Those are ever increasing and ever additional regulations. For the 25-26 biennium, we'll be building our operations facility. It's one of those projects that's been in the works for a long time, as well as maintaining City Hall with a window replacement and sealing and painting the brick, an autonomous mower in our Parks Department, which will provide greater efficiency for our staff, as well as doing a building fee study to ensure that we are setting our building fees at the appropriate level. protection of natural resources, catch basins, lab testing, water quality testing. These are things that we are doing all the time. In this biennium, we're going to see some pretty quick movement on our White River Habitat Project. Again, one of those legacy projects, as well as doing some well rehabilitation, water system security, EV chargers, and are standing up a wastewater pretreatment program, which is a huge project. This is something that the state has now transitioned to the city. They didn't provide additional funding to do that, so we've been working very hard to ensure that we're able to do that. And effective transportation, Stewart Road Bridge construction, designing the State Route 410-166 interchange, and then things like put a new sander insert so that we can ensure that we're providing the best service on our streets that we can. All of that brings us to the culmination of this process. We have 29 individual funds. Each one of those funds is treated as its own separate set of accounts with a beginning fund balance, ending fund balance, expenditures, and then and revenues. So here we have revenues of $186,169,166 and expenditures of $224,382,896. That is a substantial budget. And again, my appreciation to everyone who has had a part and a hand in ensuring that we are maximizing our resources for our strategic priorities.
Okay, so questions from the council? Comments? Councilmember Elfers?
Cassandra, I just had one question. I know it's a pretty easy answer for you, but I just, on the balance, it has to be a balanced budget, but we're off by like $38 million. Can you just remind us of that?
So when we look at a balanced budget, what we're looking at is the total of the beginning fund balance plus the revenues. So consider that to be your sources. Needs to equal your expenditures and your ending fund balance. So that's your uses. So what we do is you'll see that in the case of 25-26, overall at the fund level, our expenditures are exceeding our revenues. So we expect to see that. Really, the bulk of that is in our capital funds, and that's resources that have been accruing for years for some of these large projects, Stewart Road Bridge, White River, the ops facility. And so now in the next biennium, we'll be actually spending those down. Sure.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from council? Okay, so this item had a public hearing on December 2nd, so we will not be taking comments from the public. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Clerk, excuse me, Clairgett?
Yes.
Elfers?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Potato?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Yes, 7-0, great. So let's move to item B, ordinance number 2910, the 2023-24 final budget amendment. Councilmember Ranky, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2910, the 2023-2024 final budget amendment.
And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Elfers and Chief Financial Officer Cassandra Raymond.
Thank you again. So stepping back a little bit to the 23-24 biennial budget. Before you for consideration, this is Ordinance 2910, amending the 2023-2024 biennial budget. Our 23-24 budget was adopted on December the 5th of 2022. Staff regularly reviews the budget and brings forth quarterly amendments to City Council to ensure that our budget plan stays transparent and timely and accountable to our council and our community. Ordinance number 2910 is our final budget amendment for 2023-2024. The detail of this final amendment was reviewed at our Finance and Personnel Committee on November the 4th of 2024, as well as the City Council study session on November 18th of 2024. We also brought this before to a public hearing that was held on December 2nd of 2024. This amendment recognizes additional revenues of $4,560,900. The bulk of that is $4,334,000. That was the bond anticipation note for the Public Works Operations Facility that Council approved earlier in 2024. It also recognizes transfers in and corresponding transfers out of $19,288 and expenditures of $4,503,900, of which $334,000 is the offset to that bond anticipation over the operations facility. Overall, the net impact of this final budget amendment is an increase of $57,000 across all funds. I'm happy to take any questions from council.
Any questions from council? Okay, so as mentioned, this item did have a public hearing as well on December 2nd, so we will not be taking any comments from the public. So since no council comments, clerk, will you please call the roll?
Botetto?
Yes.
Kenna?
Yes.
Clairgett?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Elfers?
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. So we move on to public comment. Thank you. We move on to the public comment. Michelle, will you please read the rules for the public comment?
The public comment period is your opportunity to speak to the mayor and council on issues that are not on the agenda. You do have 3 minutes. Please begin your comments. I'm sorry, I lost my place. As a reminder, this portion of the meeting is the council's opportunity to hear from the community and not a time to engage in debate. The council will not be answering questions, and you may be directed to a staff member. And tonight, Deputy Mayor, we do have one person who has signed up, Mr. Randall Adams, 15013 63rd Street, Court East in Sumner.
Let me begin my comments by thanking each and every one of you for all of your efforts over the past year. I know that they've been far more than anybody would have anticipated they needed to be. So thank you very much for those efforts. Even if I may disagree with some of your answers, I do appreciate your efforts greatly. Let us celebrate our Sumner Spartans winning the 4A championship football game. Most of you do not know that Sumner has a long and proud history of great football teams. Going back to the 50s and then into the 60s when running back Tom Slovett got a full ride scholarship to Notre Dame, and others like Rick Fabiani, Arnie Blancas, and Scott Hanses all performed amazing plays for us to watch. Then in 1970, an incredible team that included Mark Graham, Scott Barkley, Tim Hertke, Steve Dionis, Pat Zamarwich, and many more played for the state championship based on polls at Spartan Stadium. There were more people at that game than any of the playoff games this year, as not only were the stands full, there was at least 5 people all the way around that whole field for that game. In 1974, the Spartans played in the championship game. They won it in 75, and in 77, they won it in their first year in AAA, which is now 4A. So the history of elite Sumner football goes back over 65 years, and yes, the entire area rallied around and celebrated those accomplishments on the gridiron. This year's amazing team is supported by not only their coaches, parents, and classmates, but yet by multiple generations of Spartans who are a large part of our history and our community. There are many members of those 1970 teams rooting for the winning Spartans, both as they left town on Washington Street and at the game itself. You got to see some of that wonderful spirit during the Christmas parade, especially families with little ones who are now learning the importance of community, the joy and pride that comes with growing up in a small town. That pride does not come from a row of apartments or a vacant grass lot on Main Street. Defending that history of Sumner is why we keep fighting to save the Ryan House, and why many Sumnerites who are privileged to grow up here keep telling us thank you. I wonder if you will now in your new utility complex or Knobloch Park, if it costs more than what you anticipate, what you will say. Are you going to keep funding it, or are you just going to do what you did on the Ryan House and just turn your back to it? One of the things that has frustrated me the most is the lack of clarity from the city and the willingness to hide things relative to the Ryan House. But even after that, on your recent open house, there was nothing that was included regarding your event center or your new city hall. You had nothing on that, even though the plans are done, because those were part of your permitting process for that.
Sir, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone participating via Zoom who would like to make a comment? No. No comment. Okay. If no additional comments, let's close this public comment period and move on to new business. We'll start with item A, our only new business, Operations Facility Phase 3 construction contract. Councilmember Clergett, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept the Operations Facility Phase 3 construction contract.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilmember Elfers. And I am not going to butcher your name, so please introduce yourself.
Good evening. Elisa O'Haver Ayala.
Thank you.
Deputy Public Works Director for Engineering and the City Engineer. Good evening, Deputy Mayor, Council. I'm here tonight to talk about the Operations Facility Phase 3 Construction Contract Award. What you see before you is the rendering that we've been working with and that we have recently opened bids on. But before we move forward with talking about the recent bid opening, I did want to take a small step back and review how we got to where we are on this monumental project. So a little background. The current operations facility, the shops, which many of you have been to, was originally constructed in 2000 for about 13 FTEs. We currently have over 30 people working out of that facility, and for those of you who've been there, you know how crowded it is. They have one big room that they all use as their break room, they use as their lunch room, they use as their work area and their desk. It's not a great setup. Shower facilities are used for storage. We've got makeshift kitchens and work areas with expensive equipment. So it was a need that was recognized long ago. So this effort started in 2017 with a feasibility study and design. To date, we have spent $4.1 million on that. We started procuring property in 2019 on 29th Street. But there, we spent $3.9 million procuring property. Then we got to work building last year in 2023 with the demolition and preload. That was completed in September of this year. We spent $3.9 million on that. That was funded by a bond anticipation note. Currently, we're working on the north parcel, the decamp facility. That's on the north side of 29th. We're anticipating the construction of that to be complete in spring of 2025, in a few months. We also anticipate spending $3.9 million on that. That is funded by both the Public Works Trust Fund loan and bond anticipation note. So that brings us to Phase 3 Operations Facility. On November 21st, we opened bids for that project. We received 5 bids. The engineer's estimate was $40,342,862. The lowest responsive bidder was Forma Construction with a bid amount of $37,533,572.84. It is a wonderful project. It's 102,000 square feet of building space, over 6 buildings on a 6-acre site on 29th Street. It'll house the Public Works, Parks, and Facilities, and it'll have an administration building, vehicle storage, fleet washing, and material storage. It'll also include frontage improvements on 29th, landscaping, site lighting, and stormwater management. We expect to get started on it early next year, and it should be complete by the end of 26. The estimated total cost of that is $50.1 million, and I'll break that down a little bit more on the following slide, but that's split between utility funds and the general fund. So this shows the full breakdown. You'll see a subtotal there of the $50.1 million for Phase 3. The yellow line at the top is what the current ask is. The 3 green lines is basically previously approved contracts or money already spent. So you'll see total Phase 3 is 50.1. Total anticipated cost of the whole project of what we've spent to date and expect to spend in full is nearly $66 million. So the ask right now is $37 million plus part of that construction contingency that gets us to about $41 million. And this shows the split between the 49% general fund and 51% utility funds. The utility fund portion of that is what would be bonded to cover. The costs, the general fund portion is expected to come from the golf course sale proceeds. And this is, Cassandra was nice enough to put this together. This is the full breakdown from the beginning, every fund that all the costs and expenses came from. Again, totaling to that nearly 66 million, 65.9. You'll see the two, I would say the two key lines is the long-term debt issue at the bottom for utilities of 27,762,168, and the anticipated golf course sale proceeds, 27,414,048. Any questions?
Any questions from council? Comments? Councilmember Elfers?
Yeah, I was just curious. Here, I'm going to put my mic over here. What's the useful life of this building?
I believe it's designed for 50 years. Its capacity is easily 50 people in the building, so we have plenty of room to grow. It was designed with office spaces for about 50, and we'll have 37 on opening day.
Okay, so it is built with extra capacity?
Yes.
Okay. And is Forma Construction, you said you got 5 bids?
5 bids. Forma Construction is the apparent low bidder that we anticipate awarding to.
And they have a pretty good reputation? Or?
They do. We have not worked with them, but our architect has worked with them on a number of projects, and they've all been successful.
Okay. Yeah, okay, thank you. Good job coming in under budget.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Councilmember Batata.
So what are you going to do with the current facility?
I don't think a decision has been made yet. There's been some discussions, but no decisions. I think that'll probably come back to the group of you for some discussion.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kenna.
Yeah, and the anticipated golf course sale proceeds, what if that doesn't come in as expected, would there be a different approach in terms of how we fund portions of the project, or if it comes over that portion, is there an explanation for how we would handle that?
So we have the funds. It's just a matter of how much the council is going to allocate for that.
Was that it from the council? Okay. Are there any comments from the public? Okay. Any comments online, via Zoom? No. Okay, great. Thank you for that. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bowman?
Yes.
Kenna?
Yes.
Elfers?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Potato?
Yes.
Clarigat?
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Great, thank you. So now we move on to item 4, reports, council reports. I'm going to go in reverse alphabetical order this time, so we're going to start with Councilmember Ranky.
Thank you. Just a couple things. This last Saturday was a parade. Very good weather, good turnout. Was happy with that. Also, the football game, as Randall explained, that was awesome for the Spartans. Enjoyed that. And I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'll keep it short. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kenna.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add other than, congratulations to the Spartans. Quite an achievement. I was lucky enough that the high school I attended in Spokane, we had a good basketball team, and we had a number of runs for the state title, and won, to my recollection, once, potentially twice after I left. So it's a pretty fun feeling to be a part of a community that gets to celebrate their team in that fashion. So, great job to the players, coaching staff, and everybody in the community.
Thank you. Councilmember Elfers.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I think I just wanted to make one comment on the consent agenda. I just wanted to bring up item number 3 was the biosolids dryer procurement. And a lot of these items go through committee, so we do talk about them and ask questions. So sometimes we don't see us asking questions up here. I just want to clarify we are asking questions at the committee level a lot of times. So this one was interesting because it was a change order. It was an additional $545,000. So it was presented as good news, and we were all a little not super thrilled with that. So, but what was not on here is that there is it's pretty significant. I think over 50 or 60% of this is going to be likely. We haven't gotten them out. Is a big incentive from Peterson Energy. It also creates a system that it's a little more complicated than I can explain, but I think it was actually very good news on that. And so I think on this item, it doesn't describe that. And so I wanted to bring that to attention, because it does sound like an expensive thing, but it is a really fairly offset by a lot of stuff. So the second thing I wanted to say is on the public hearing item. I didn't mention it, but Mr. Bierman, I appreciate your thought. I was actually intending to just encourage folks who are interested in the history. There's been a lot of talk about history last year about how we need to value that. So I just want to say this is a way that the city would really like input from the community. So thank you for that. And then I also just want to echo the Spartans winning. I watched the game. It was a fantastic game. Couldn't have had a better textbook ending. And I played for the Spartans for a couple of years, so that was fun. And I just want to wish everyone happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and everything else you celebrate. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Clerget.
Yeah, real quick. Happy holidays and congrats to the Spartans.
Thank you. Councilmember Bowman.
Yeah, I too would like to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It was fun in the parade. Andy wore his Spartans jersey. He had one of his kids bring it down so he could wear it. There was a lot of hype with the football game, so it was awesome that they won. Also, I've had a lot of people reach out to me asking if there was going to be a parade for the kids, and so I sent a message up, talked with the folks up here and the staff, and they've done what's necessary to be done to get the appropriate permit and stuff to the school district. So if the school district decides to do that and the city has the people to support it, then potentially it would be a parade. And I would encourage everybody to come out and support the team. But a lot of great things going on. You can just feel it here in the town. So it's a nice time of year. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Potato.
I echo all the congratulations about the Spartans, but I'm very excited to see the development agreement with the library, and that's a big step forward. And in the next couple of years, we'll be seeing more of the plans and also starting the building of the library. So good news. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we call City Administrator Jason Wilson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council. As you all know, this is the last meeting of the year, so thank you for hanging with us as we went through the budget process as well as the comprehensive plan update. Those are very significant projects that took a lot of your time, and I really thank you for your dedication over the last several months. There's been a lot of meetings. With that, like I said, the last meeting until January 6th, so that's good. We do have a study session immediately following this, so we'll just need a couple minutes to reset the room. At the January 6th meeting, right now on the agenda, we have 3 items. The first is the adoption of the 2024 Periodic Comprehensive Plan update, as well as the associated zoning code amendments that you've seen. We have the library development agreement, as well as the selection for the deputy mayor for next year. With that, happy holidays. I look forward to seeing you next year.
Okay, thank you. So I wish a happy, safe holiday to everyone out there. So I adjourn this special council meeting at 6:38, and there is no executive session tonight.